The Smoking Mirror, Chapter 19. Carol balked at her brother's request. I couldn't ever kill him, not even if he were about to destroy the planet. When she'd seen him standing there, that column of blue light bursting from his transformed body, the shape of Huitzilopochtli that he had so stupidly assumed, she had only felt fear for him. She loved him too much to do anything but try to bring him back with her Kukwane singing magic. The thought of using her abilities to end his life, it was impossible. No one, their mother breathed, is going to kill anyone, not even themselves. She shifted briefly into her jaguar form to heal her wounds, and then she became human again. Her hair hung straight and long, and her skin glowed beautifully. Sitting up, she brushed dust from her blouse. That monster kept me from shifting for months. I feel much better now. Still could use a hot shower, pero ni modo. They helped her to her feet. Johnny ducked his head in shame. Mom, I'm sorry. Perdóname. Shh. Yeah, we're all fine now. But you heard what he said, Johnny whispered. He planned all of it, and he's going to do more. He's going to make me. She put 2 fingers against his lips, silencing him. He can't make you do anything you don't want to, Juan Angel. And when it comes time to face him again, you won't be alone. There are many people that fight his schemes. You are in good company, I promise you. Carol felt weirdly jealous. Why didn't Tezcatlipoca attack me with Kuhale? Why was he so totally focused on Johnny? Is it because I'm a girl? That's really stupid. Johnny seemed to sense her jumbled up emotional state. Carol, I think he knew he could make me snap faster, you know? That's why he focused all his attention on me. And he knew you are my balance, so he tried knocking you out. Doesn't know how stubborn you can be, though. Thanks. His eyes went serious but soft. I would have burned myself out from the inside. I had no control, but you sang for me, sis. You made me focus on Mom and stuff. You saved me. Without warning, he threw his arms around her and squeezed. Thanks, he muttered thickly into her hair. Carol hugged him back. Okay, she said, looking at her mother. What's next? Well, we need to get out of here. Like Carol said, we can't go back, Johnny warned. I know. So, their mother gestured at the opening in the far wall. A dark path made its way to the threshold and beyond. Let's see what's at the very center, kids. The passageway they entered was brief. It opened onto an even vaster chamber ceilinged in living wood. The world tree, Carol realized, were right beneath it. There were 3 other passageways that debouched into the cavern, and from each a different path emerged, red, green, white. All the paths, including the black one they had been following, converged at the center of the chamber, which was dominated by an enormous stone-lipped well that coruscated with light from deep within and illuminated the entire space with a dappled glow. As Carol watched, dozens of brilliant, sparkling masses came streaming along each path and poured themselves into the roiling luminosity at the very heart of Mictlan. Their souls, no, Johnny muttered, passing beyond. Everything Tezcatlipoca made people fear is a lie. They aren't destroyed. He can't snuff them. Carol heard something then. Tilting her head, she tried to listen more closely. ¿Qué pasa, amor? Her mother asked. Are you okay? Don't you hear that? It's music. The portals of her soul opened and the song rolled in on majestic swells of sweet bliss. There were no words. It was a hymn of completion, of satisfaction, of long-needed rest. Hope she felt, and love, eternal epiphany, unity, peace. Dropping to her knees, she stared at the well, overcome. What? Johnny asked, crouching beside her, worry on his face. What's wrong? She looked at him and smiled. Nothing, Johnny, nothing's wrong. Everything's going to be fine. No matter what comes, we'll all be okay. Her mother tousled her hair lovingly and looked around. I'm not sure what road we should take, kids. Any suggestions? I'd opt for the green road, were I you. Carol lifted her eyes. Walking through the entrance along the green path was Xochitl in his human form. Xolotl in his human form. His blue eyes twinkled in the shimmering light. Souls streamed past him on either side. Nice of you to join us, Johnny said with a smirk. I mean, I guess I understand Mrs. 4-in-1 told us you couldn't make it through Xibalba, but man, we sure could have used some help. Johnny, muttered Carol, that's not fair. We had lots of help. and the rest you handled splendidly." Xolotl gestured for them to approach him. Carol stood, and the three walked in a semicircle around the Well of Souls. "You were incredible. Despite all that assailed you, you held fast to your own identities and to the love that makes your family strong. You are truly heroes, my children, and we are proud of your steadfastness." "Yeah, we also kicked some major butt," Johnny added, with a half smile, as they reached Xolotl's side. "That you did, One on Hell, that you did." Their mother was staring at the man with eyes wide. Carol noticed with surprise that her bottom lip was actually trembling. "Are you him?" Xolotl's eyes grew soft, and he reached out to touch her head in a fatherly gesture. "No, Veronica, or rather just a small part of him. But he sees you, dear, and so does his mother. They're ever watchful." Carol wasn't sure what the two of them meant, but there was little time for deciphering. Xolotl nodded firmly and turned away. "We've a need for speed, so you'll have to cling tightly. Riding the green can be treacherous." He shifted into his giant hound form, and soon Carol found herself boosted into place upon his broad back, her mother and brother behind her. "Say goodbye to Miklan, children. I suspect you'll never tread this realm again." Scoffing, Johnny said, "Good riddance." Their mother whispered something unintelligible. Carol was silent, but as the massive dog began to run along the green path through the strange caverns of Chukunomiklan, she thought she might not mind taking this road beyond. At the very least, she hoped that Tezcatlipoca's hold on the place would loosen now so that its ancient function, preparing souls for the next stage, could continue in peace. Then they were at the circular lake, and the water surged green and pure from the inky depths, lifting Xolotl high and bearing them at impossible speeds back along the 9 deserts. Each of those levels of Miklan became a blur beneath them, muted by speed and the foaming liquid. Carol clung tightly to Xolotl, burying her face in his short red hair. Her mother's arms were about her. The wind whistled by loudly. It was impossible to hear anything except the echoes of the haunting song that had risen from the Well of Souls. Finally, the waves slowed and dipped, splashing broadly into the waters of Chignahuapan. Xolotl paddled the rest of the way to shore, where the green road terminated in the strange roiling curtain that divided this dimension from theirs. "I wish this could be the end of it for them," their mother said, somewhere between stern and hopeful. "Johnny is very worried about the lies Tezcatlipoca told him." Xolotl nodded his shaggy head. "I understand. But they are special. You knew it when they were born. We will work to protect them, to keep the struggle far away. But the Lord of Chaos has designs for them, and they must be prepared." "I can prepare them," their mother said, nodding to herself. "I'll teach them everything my mother and Sepame showed me." "I had assumed nothing less, but Veronica, you know nothing of the savage magic they can wield." "No one does. Not I, not Tezcatlipoca, not Quetzalcoatl, or the Blessed Mother. We have inklings of how it might be triggered. We understand its implications for this world, but we cannot use it directly. Even if it were permitted to us, we do not have the lore required." Carol could sense the frustration in her mother. The woman shook her head in disbelief. "Well, who does?" Xolotl glanced upward. "You would have to ascend to the uppermost branches of the World Tree, to Omyokan itself, to find an answer to that question." Johnny made a dismissive sound and smirk. "In other words, we're on our own. In terms of learning to wield Xochal, yes." Carol felt impatience rising in her. She touched her mother's arm. "We'll figure it out together, but there'll be time for that. Can we please just go home? Dad's probably freaking out. Tia Andrea too." Veronica nodded. "So what do we do?" Xolotl nudged the gray curtain with his muzzle. "Push through at this point. You'll emerge in the mountains again, close to Monterey." Carol reached out and touched the hound's short red fur. "Thank you, Xolotl. We owe you." Their guide grinned. "Oh, the debt is mine, child. Ours. You have risen to the challenges and foiled the dark plans of chaos. For a time. Now go. Enjoy your lives, love one another, rejoice in the beauty of the world you've protected." Johnny stepped forward toward the curtain, reaching back for his mother's hand. She grabbed a hold of him and clasped Carol's hand as well. "Goodbye, Mictlan," Carol muttered. She felt the slightest inexplicable twinge of regret. Then Johnny pushed through the gray, pulling them after him. Chapter 20. The world was assembling itself around them, but at the periphery of the gray, Johnny could sense a vast darkness in which enormous monsters seemed to writhe in a mass of serpentine coils, leathery wings, and endless hunger for destruction. Their attention coalesced momentarily, focusing on his awareness of them. But then he dropped into this world, stumbling across rocks on the sandy floor of a cave. His mother and sister emerged from the space between dimensions a split second later. After the initial disorientation, Johnny became aware of a deafening roar that filled the small space, not so much a cave as an alcove. Water was rushing in torrents across the entrance to the small space. "Que fregados," he exclaimed. "I think we're at the Cola de Caballo," his mother shouted above the sound of the cascade. "Horsetail Falls, in Cumbres National Park." She hugged them both excitedly and led them carefully through the rushing curtain of water. Down a rugged slope dotted with trees, the three of them made their way to the crowds of tourists visiting the famous waterfall. From there, it was relatively easy to grab a taxi and let the warm air dry them, as the driver wove his expert way through traffic to Colonia Tecnologico. More difficult, however, was explaining to the police officers assigned to their missing persons case what had happened. Johnny was perversely proud of the lie his mother spun. She'd been kidnapped by Zetas in Dana and taken across the border. The band's leader had gone missing, however, so the criminals had been awaiting further instructions for months. When they had finally sent their demands to her sister's apartment, the twins had intercepted the message and had foolishly gone off to rescue her, taking 50,000 of their aunt's pesos. The criminals had accepted the money and let them go. The police didn't exactly buy this story, but they had little choice other than to accept it. Andrea confirmed the missing money, and the twins corroborated every detail. Reporters swarmed the area, and Johnny almost broke down crying when he saw his mother quickly slap on makeup to be interviewed for the local news. It was such an ordinary ritual, but one he had missed more than he had imagined. She's something else, isn't she? In the midst of all the chaos, the phone rang. Everyone was busy, so Johnny answered the old-fashioned landline. "Bueno? Johnny?" It was his father, his voice trembling excitedly. "Dad?" "Yes, son, it's me. Oh, God, I'm so glad you're okay. You scared the crap out of me, kid." I know, but we got Mom back, Dad. She's here right now, safe and sound. Andrea said she called and left a message for you." There was a pause. His father's breath came in ragged snatches. "Yeah, I heard it. Can I talk to her? To your mother?" "Hang on, she's outside with a reporter. Let me go get her." Johnny's mother rushed inside when he told her who was on the phone. After about 5 minutes, she hung up. "He's on his way," his mother explained with a nervous smile. "He had been getting an import sticker for his car to drive down. That's why he didn't answer at first." She was crying a little, and Johnny hugged her tightly. "We're going to be together again, Mom, all of us. Don't cry." "But that's why I'm crying, mijo. I'd almost lost hope that I'd see any of you ever again. It's a miracle, and these are tears of gratitude to the Virgin. Now go on, get cleaned up. Your father will be here in 3 hours or so. He's going to take us to visit your grandmother's grave, and then we'll head home." Oscar Garza nearly swept his wife off her feet in the driveway when he arrived, dashing from the car and embracing her tightly. Johnny turned away as they kissed, more out of embarrassment than a desire to give them privacy, and then he and Carol hugged both of their parents. A few straggling photographers snapped away at their cameras, and the image of the reunited family would appear the following day on the front page of El Norte. Retelling the cover story on the drive to Saltillo made Johnny feel horribly guilty. "This is Dad," he thought to Carol. "He's got a right to know the truth." "Yeah, well, that's Mom's decision, Johnny. She'll tell him when the moment's right, I guess." He didn't argue with her, But his father's poignant questions made it obvious the man knew something wasn't quite right. Oscar Garza didn't push too hard, though. Johnny figured he was just too relieved to have his family back together to pursue his suspicions. Soon they were all four of them gathered around the gravestone of Helga Baron de Quintero, which stood right beside that of her husband Ramon. Johnny's mother laid a wreath of marigolds upon the freshly turned earth and ran her fingers gently across the inscription carved into the granite cross. Se alza como una leona. She rises like a lioness. Johnny couldn't take it anymore. Too many secrets. Lies. That's Tezcatlipoca's way, not mine. He looked around carefully. The cemetery was empty of people. Dad, there's something important you need to know. What are you doing, Johnny? Carol's thoughts were stern, tinged with panic. He ignored her, stepped back from the grave, and shifted. Come on, Carol, you too, now. She sighed and dropped into her wolf form. Their father stumbled backward, bumping into his father-in-law's tombstone. Ah, como serán de tercos las dos, their mother muttered in irritation. Then she, too, morphed into a jaguar. The three naguales stood shoulder to shoulder, looking up at Oscar Garza. Unexpectedly, he smiled and gave a nervous laugh. Well, that explains a lot, he said, reaching out to rub his shaking hand against the fur of each of them in turn. And it means I'm not crazy after all. Wow, Garza family, we've got some important